afternoon, everyone. And sincerely, thank you all for being here. Give yourself a nice round of applause for helping everyone in Lycoming County and the surrounding areas to never forget. It's not about the numbers, it's about the message, and you guys are the message, and thank you once again. I'm Ted Minier from Backyard Broadcasting. Pleased to be a part of this program this afternoon. I will be acting as your Master of Ceremonies, and at this time I would like to ask Representative Joe Ham, Chrissy Randello, Reverend Gary Smith, Chief Todd Winder, and our guest speaker Tim Chambers, along with Tank Baird, to please come to the stage. Would the clergy present please come to my right-hand side of the stage? And can we also have, according to Dad, the Paul Hamas Family Quartet to the same side of the stage here to the right? And I guess under that canopy is to the right, so if you're comfortable over there, that's perfect, but if you'd like to come over, please do. At this time, we would like to introduce the Korean War Vets Honor Guard.
Make sure that they're in the social hall, I think.
They're coming.
You gotta give them a minute.
They're currently fighting a fight somewhere, and they'll be right with us. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, the Korean War veterans of Lycoming County and the Korean War Vets Honor Guard. Individually, I would like to introduce, with the Korean War Vets, PFC Dale Stroessner of the U.S. Army. Sergeant Ed Adams of the U.S. Army. Airman First Class Lydianne Gitzlag of the U.S. Air Force. Sergeant Frank Hartzell, U.S. Air Force, Vietnam. And Sergeant David Lamason, U.S. Army. Corporal Jim Ritter of the 1st U.S. Marine Corps. First Sergeant Chris Casano, U.S. Army, 27 years. Senior Airman Dave Gardner, U.S. Air Force. Sergeant Ed March, U.S. Army. Chief Warrant Officer 3, Robert L. Smith, Jr., U.S. Army. And Sergeant Howard Wilt, 1st Marine Division. Gentlemen, thank you for your service, and thank you for being here today. We'd also like to thank Mark Lusk, Sheriff Mark Lusk, and the Lycoming County Sheriff's Department for being here today. Thank you, Sheriff. We'll try to be brief here. Keeping that in mind, I would like to introduce our gracious host and the chief of the Clinton Township Volunteer Fire Company, Chief Todd Winder.
Good afternoon. Sorry for the rain. I've been talking to Father Mano's pitcher in my garage all week, asking him for some help, but I guess we're going to get all summer's worth of rain today. So you guys are the diehards. God bless you for being here and pledging to never forget September 11th, 2001. So this year we had two significant deaths within the 9/11 coalition in this event. Those of you that have been here for the longest since the beginning, if you remember Jack Hoffman, he sung the national anthem every year up until not too many years ago. He passed this year. He was a Montgomery graduate, excellent singer, wonderful guy, and he passed away due to cancer earlier this year. Also this year, the coalition lost Mickey Finn, who was our treasurer since the coalition was formed. He too passed. He was a retired Air Force and state trooper. So if you would, please, let's just give them a moment of silence and thank them for their years of service to us. Thank you. Ride safe, everybody.
Thanks, Chief. And now representing the 9/11 Memorial Coalition, going back to day one with some of the do's and don'ts and some words of inspiration and wisdom, Mr. Tank Baird.
I don't know about wisdom. If we were really wise, we wouldn't be riding today, but no, actually, you're a bunch of riders. Thanks for showing up. 21st anniversary, in the words of Lorena Beniquez, a local journalist, we are starting our third decade of this event. And for every good reason, we're going to remember the fallen, and we're going to honor those with service to this country. And then we're going to carry that message out to Lycoming County and beyond. We've had media here, and they will spread the word about what we're doing here. Law enforcement, Mark Lusk and others, think that this is a very valuable thing for all of you, even though some of you could ride through snowstorms. But if I say one thing to help keep us safe today, mission accomplished. First of all, we are riding staggered formation. If you do not know what that means, please stay here. And I want you, this is very important, especially on a day like this where it might be a little slippy out there. If you see a gap, we want you to close the gaps. We want to be one solid line here, and today I don't see a lot of problem. Normally, the bikes would be up around the corner. Today, it's a little slimmer, and I think you guys, I would guess that you're experienced riders. But I want you to, instead of hitting that throttle, I want you to creep up on the guy in front of you, okay? I know that sounds simple, but we've actually had one person right outside here say, Tank, I didn't listen to you. I saw a gap, I throttled down, and hit the guy in front of him. So just be careful. This is a fully escorted ride. So we will have Mark Lusk and Lycoming County Sheriff's Department leading the way, and we have a chase vehicle. So we're gonna fit in that space. All intersections, hopefully, are blocked. You may come up to one where they stop you for a variety of different reasons, and we've got to give them the option of doing that. And by them, I mean the law enforcement, the volunteers at that intersection. So be prepared for anything. They tell me that there's a potential problem on the end of the Abe Howard Bridge as we exit the bridge. Sometimes that stacks up there, and just be careful. I don't think we're going to have that problem today. Normally that's stacking up, and when they're turning onto 3rd Street in Williamsport. And that's probably a quarter mile or better when you come off the bridge, but that's been a little dangerous of a situation. Be kind, be patient. We have a lot of volunteers and they're doing the best they can. No wheelies, no trick riding. I don't think I have to tell you guys that. If you got any candy in your saddlebag, don't toss it, okay? This is I've said before, a juju bee between the eyes at 35 or 40 might not feel good. Pay attention, be sharp. We have 42 miles out there. Now we're going to move pretty quick today, but my suggestion to you is go before we go, okay? We're going to have a few minutes when we're getting to our bikes before we roll, and we head out here precisely at 3 o'clock, okay? Have a good ride, guys. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Tank. Tank is like the face and the voice of the 9/11 Memorial Coalition, along with the Reverend Gary Smith, Sergeant Mike Seitzer, Major Tom, but there are so many others that are behind the scenes. Can we have a nice round of applause for everyone involved with the 9/11 Memorial Coalition? Thank you. At this time, to get some of the more formal presentations of the day started, I would like to bring to the stage a group that's been entertaining the Susquehanna Valley for 25 years from the Milton Watsontown area. The Paul Hamas family, performing Amazing Grace. You may know them as According to Dad. Can we have a nice round of applause for According to Dad and the Paul Hamas family?
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace hath brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun.
according to Dad. Ken Polhamus and his boys. Full-grown boys, mind you, according to Dad. At this time, we would like to introduce our guest speaker. You may know him as the saluting Marine of the Washington Rolling Thunder. We have a nice warm round of applause for Tim Chambers.
Sorry about that. I thought we were going to do the national anthem, and I was recruiting kids to come out and salute with me and kind of teach them that when you salute the flag, you're saluting all of those who gave something, who sacrificed something, not only on foreign shores, but here abroad. When citizens had the courage to make a difference here at home and make things better, called civil rights leaders in some cases, they added something to the flag. Just like all these amazing men and women you see today, all these veterans in the crowd, right? All those guys and gals that served in the military. Awesome people, right? We know there's another awesome breed in this audience. Did you know that? There's like a spectacular, awesome, like Superman, Spider-Man. You know who that is? That's citizens, that's patriots. You know, they show they care about others, they help each other, right? That's called being a good American, right? And they didn't even have to take an oath and have to go join the military to make that kind of difference in our society. And that's very, 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 very important, because there are more patriots than veterans. So we need all those motivators here at home to make sure we still have what we have here at home, right? But we can make things better too, right? And when you do good and you help others, you're adding something to the flag. Did you know that? That's how simple it is, motivator. So when you see us out saluting the flag, you know, standing up at the ball games, we're not only honoring the patriots and the veterans, we're honoring you. Did you know that? I didn't know that. You're pretty smart. I didn't know that growing up. I had no idea, you know, how easy it could be a good American. What's your name? You have a few words to say to the audience today? You sure? Okay, what grade are you in? I wish I could go back to 5th grade, motivator. I would work so much harder. Because once I graduated high school, there's all those scholarships. I could have bought a new phone, a new video game, move out of the house. You understand? So invest in yourself now. It starts now. That's how we honor those who sacrificed their lives on 9/11 and the years following. And we need you to get your education, because I bet you $1 that you'll make a better decision someday than what has been made that will save thousands of Americans' lives. Semper Fi. That's what we got to do. We talk about mourning, which I don't think we do enough as a nation to begin with. We're so out of sight, out of mind society. No one else is going to do it for us, as we've learned by looking at the people down the street in D.C. We have to be the ones to take a stand and make that difference for this state and lead the way as the Keystone State led the way for generations past into the future. And this is what's going to save our bacon, right here. There's so much that we could talk about today. And I've talked about my experience, and I'll share that with you today. But I just thought we need to up the ante. And I need to do more. And I already do a lot. I do as much as I possibly can. When someone calls me, I don't even know who they are. But I care about them, you know? When I walk by someone and I see them, I acknowledge them. You know, I just don't say good morning and they say I'm fine. I just care. It's good to care about people. Enthusiasm and compassion will get you so far. It even got me to eat breakfast at the White House one day. You know that? enthusiasm. I was the mascot in high school. I was the Fox, the Silverton Fox. Run around the crowd, dunk the basketball. But on 9/11, I found myself where I wanted to be, essentially. I mean, the recruiter, told me, sky's the limit, Chambers, Would never have guessed I would have been stationed at the Pentagon. Holy mackerel. Do you know how big that building is? Oh, it's huge. It's huge. There's all these lieutenant colonels that make coffee and just really exciting things going at the Pentagon. But I checked in down at the Pentagon. I went up to the Navy Annex, and then I stumbled over to the Henderson Hall, which borders the cemetery, Fort Myers, the National Cemetery. Amazing place. But there's amazing cemeteries all over our country, wherever the blood flowed. It doesn't start in D.C. Your community is just as important, if not more, than Washington, D.C. I want you to understand that. And that's why I'm here today, to express that. So, I'm having a meeting with the first sergeant, and the plane flies by our window. I didn't know that New York had been hit. I didn't really know what was going on because I'd just been running around all morning. And with the ground shook, we heard the explosion, which was just directly straight up the hill from the Pentagon. Right away, initial thought was get down. My Marines are there. Marines I work with are there. The offices, which I didn't realize were 40 windows to the left of the impact, outer wedge, upper level. And the training kicked in. Like when my parents tell me to do things at home, I don't understand why they're telling me to do it, why they're telling me to brush my fangs, why I'm telling me to put my toys away. I don't understand why I have to study so hard. But that day I learned why the Marine Corps made me study that hard, made me work that hard, made me care that much. Because I ran down that hill. We got accountability. That's a very important word. I hope you take that and learn that in life. Accountability for our men and women. Like we're going to have accountability for all the citizens, right? It's important. We don't leave anyone behind, right? We don't go to sleep until we know they're on their way home. That's a lifelong lesson. I hope you take that when you become president. I hope you live longer with that. And don't forget things you tell me you're going to do for me when you get elected, okay? Because I heard someone said they were going to get rid of that property tax one day, but anyway. So, it's very sacred. Just, when people show their trust, it's a vote. So I turned down to the Pentagon, got accountability, was setting up triage, helping people coming out of the building. Two young visitors, tourists, walked by, and they're taking pictures, I didn't think it was appropriate, So I threw them a body bag and asked if they'd like a picture with that too. And I didn't say it in this lovey-dovey little demeanor that I have here today. But I learned that day that we're truly trying to react to the circumstances, and the commandant let us stay there. He wanted all the Marines out. The Army was in charge. I stood my ground, and a handful of us got to go in the building. And it was pitch black darkness in the Pentagon. It was on fire. We didn't know where we were going. We were just trying to find victims. We were trying to find anyone we could because, I had a pet cat and it died, and I wanted to bury it and say goodbye to it, And that's what I got to help families do by going through the wreckage of the Pentagon and finding people that I could bring home, essentially, so the family could have that closure, like I had when I got to know where my cat was, It was terrible if I didn't know where my cat was, If it gets out, a lot of crazy animals out there, right? There's even some sailors and airmen, all sorts of animals. But, gear adrift is a gift. So, some people couldn't handle the intensity of the darkness, of the fire, of the smell, of the liquids, of whatever was on us, whatever was soaping into our boots. But the first person that I found was sitting down. He had a pen in his hand, and his glasses were melted to his face, but he wasn't in his chair, he was on the ground. And it's very strange. Like, I've never seen my cat ever again after it left me, but sometimes I see this guy. I'd see him in the subway, in the metro, someone that looked like him, and it was pretty eerie, you know, like Halloween. So I didn't know what it took, but it just took doing it, reacting to the circumstances. There were other cases that people weren't so lucky, and there was a lot of suffering. I don't want to share that instant impact to shortchange the day, because Americans already forget about the day, you know? After several days down at the wreckage, I went home and I fell asleep and I woke up. And someone had laid a flag next to my yellow helmet that I had a little light thing taped to it, my rank. And that uplifted my spirits. And then it took me to where the victims and the families were coming to a hotel for D-Day collection and survivor benefits. And I just felt drawn to the families. So I went there and they put me in charge of the daycare. So I had about 40 kids in 2 hotel rooms low crawling. Have you ever low crawled? You should try it sometime, Motivator. Wanting to be Marines. And then I got to see pictures of the victims in their happy state. And that kind of helped a little bit, you know? A year later goes by, and there's a ceremony. We're in the grandstands, but one of the families actually recognized me and pulled me down from the grandstands, and I sat with them. And that really meant a lot. And then 10 years later, I meet a woman in Crystal City with the picture of her son on her chest. I'm like, tell me about your sailor. And she said, well, my son was in the Pentagon in 9/11. And they never found him. And that was our job. You can only try as hard as you can, you know. That was the whole job, the whole existence. And then all my brothers and sisters after that, that's why I need you to be elected, because we sent them down there to go get the bad guys, you know. But I'm sure if we had this guy elected, he would have said, go do your job and be home by Christmas. And they would have got the job done, right? You have faith in all these people, right? We need to show more faith in the men and women that we send abroad and let them do their job and not prolong things. I bet you $1 that the Taliban would have been wiped off the face of the earth if we let my brave men and women that served in Afghanistan do their job. So you probably don't know about my salute, do you? Salute's a pretty easy thing, right? Everyone salutes. It's sad because we live in a society where you'll only hear about me when I make a mistake. You know? Like, you'll see it on Facebook, I made a mistake, you know, but you'll never have known about me before. But for some of you that don't know, real quick, not that this is what this day is about, but this is kind of who I am a little bit. I just saw another need, like me being here today, and jumped off a curb 20 years ago in Washington, D.C., at a big motorcycle event called Rolling Thunder. I wanted to thank veterans before they die. Funerals is too late. And little did I know it would take on such special meanings year after year after year after year that evolved from veterans to the families, to the patriots, to the citizens, to foreigners, to across the pond. And it's very humbling. But now, everyone can take out their little phone. Take out your phone, motivators. See, we're here, and we go so far to help. And then we say, well, we don't have money, we don't have time, we don't have things, the dominoes are still falling, 22 a day is still happening. What more could we have done today? Maybe there's something very simple that we could have done. Number one, we could have come together and unite And you can take my phone number, and when you go back to your community, you can look for 15 through 18-year-olds that are not going to graduate high school, that need some makeup credits for high school, that need their GEDs. Because I just moved to your great state to be a team leader at the Army National Guard Challenge Academy at Fort Indiantown Gap. I have kids on the base. I was with them last night. They lived with us for 22 weeks. We put them through a 2-week boot camp. I had to learn how to march like a soldier and not a Marine, because the Marine Corps makes it a little easier. We have a little longer in our sounding off approach. But this is how we're going to make sure that 9/11 doesn't happen again. Is we need to come together and do it ourselves. TSA should be as big of an oversized closet in the airport, profiling foreigners, not punishing the citizens. And I hope you're the next person in charge. I'm going to vote. We got to vote for this guy to be in charge of the Homeland Security and say, hey, we're wasting a lot of money in that border. Are we safer? I just don't know. But that's as far as I'm going to go on that one. Because I care. Because we had to bury our brothers and sisters, right? So we care about those things. But I really need your help, though. I need to find 60 to 100 kids for the next academy in January. And I felt this was dignified to bring this to your attention today. If you care about your state and the future of your state and the future of your country, and we don't want 9/11 to happen again. So I need bodies. They're going to live with us. We're going to put ribbons on them. They're going to earn everything they get. We're going to pick up where society left off, and the biggest growing family is single-parent homes. My other aim at this academy is to help the younger migrants have respect in their heritage, but have respect in their community. And take care of the stray cats, and take care of their grass, and take care of their community, and be part of America. So it's an amazing opportunity, and we need your help to find the bodies. Is that asking too much? Still probably not doing enough. We have to do more, though. We can't get displacement motivators. Hey, what time is it? You know? About that time? But my phone number, I'm going to give it to you. Okay, I came here to build an army of recruiters to make sure this academy succeeds. We don't let kids fall through the cracks. 8675, oh wait, 7, yeah, get it out there, you. I care about them, okay? I'm a team leader, I'm not a recruiter, but I care about the mission. I care about you. I care about you. That's why I'm here today. 760, repeat. 429er. 4819. And you can go golf kilo, whatever you want when you text me so that I got you. I promise no Amway presentations, okay? We're just after getting these kids the opportunity. If you don't know about it, sometimes it just passes you by. And I will be there motivating them. Just like, and they motivate me right back. Like you motivate me. You have the courage to come and stand and present arms with me today. You have the courage to come on this stage. That's outstanding. And that's the kind of courage that we need in our country moving forward, to take that stand. Outstanding, motivator. Give him a round of applause. Look, they're for you. I don't think the coalition knew what they were getting when they invited me, but thank you very much for having me. It really means a lot, and it helps me keep going, because if I'm just sitting silent on these days, it's a little, strange. The Marine can say strange at least, right? Is it authorized? Where's the senior Marine in the house?
Strange works.
But I care about all of you in Semper Fidelis.
And we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sergeant Tim Chambers, the saluting Marine. Thank you for your service. At this time on the stage, I would like to acknowledge State Representative Joe Ham. A nice round of applause for the work he has done for the ride and his district in general. Once again, Sheriff Mark Lusk and his deputies of Lycoming County ensuring our safety here and every day. And at this time, once again, I would like to introduce the Korean War Vets Honor Guard, the Korean War Vets of Lycoming County, with our 21-gun salute and taps. Gentlemen.
Honor Guard. Stand back. Color Guard. Present arms. Rifle Squad, port arms. Unlock. Prepare to fire. Ready. Aim. Ready. Aim. Ready. Aim.
At this time, to honor America, I would like to bring to the microphone for our national anthem, Miss Chrissy Rendello.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Chrissy Rendello, ladies and gentlemen, Chrissy Rendello. And our final speaker of the afternoon, I would like to introduce Reverend Gary Smith.
Ready? Take your seat.
As the Vice President of the Coalition, it warms my heart to see each and every one of you out here today. As a Vietnam veteran, my heart breaks as I hold these up, these fallen warrior cards. Men and women that gave of their all. That we have the right to be here today. That we can ride and show the world that we will never forget. This is our right. We paid the price in our blood for it. And I'd like to just pray over these cards, the families of these survivors. Father, I thank you for every man and woman that has committed their all and sacrificed for our freedom. Bless and keep each one of their family members. Let them realize that the loss of their loved one was not in vain, but it was for our freedom today. God, I give you the praise and the glory for it. In Christ's name, amen. The coalition always has been and always will be apolitical. But a couple times you've heard us mentioning our representative, Joe Ham. He's the only politician that has ever graced this stage. Many have tried. A lot of them, Tang has got right as their foot was on the first step. Because this man embodies to me what a person elected to a political office should be. What he says, he does. And he doesn't say much that he doesn't mean. He just says, this is what it is, this is what I'll do, and if in any way possible, he makes that happen. So to me, I count it a great privilege to honor him as a friend, as well as my representative. And his staff that worked tirelessly. There are so many people to be thanked. I know Sheriff Mark Lusk and all of his crew. Without their protection and that, we'd be in some dire straits many a time. The Clinton Township Fire Department and the chief, without the staff that worked so diligently, and the members of the coalition, the chief is one of them, make this all happen. And for each of you that are coming out to support us, motorcycle clubs, the Red Knights Motorcycle Club, the firemen, the Blue Knights Law Enforcement Motorcycle Club, they came and they give up their time to fulfill spots that we don't have people for. They take the applications in, they help coordinate, they do traffic control. So I'd like to thank each of the clubs that are represented here today and for all that they have done to assist us as well. Ballbird Brewing Sound System, it's been fantastic. We appreciate what they have done. And they have actually done this for gratis. They have come here and set all this up and done this, that you can hear what we're saying and what the speaker has to say. So a heartfelt thanks to you as well. And above all to you, the patriots, that on a rainy day would come out and stand and ride to let the world know that we will never forget. Because many of the kids in high school today, they weren't born when it happened. You talk to some of the young people today and they say, well, I saw something on TV about it or on the internet. They don't have that feel that you and I have that lived it and saw it. So I thank you for your service and helping. And last, before I turn it over to Reverend Stankiewicz, two of our members of the coalition, I just found out this morning, are going to be married next week. So Mike and Debbie, wherever you are here, all right, raise your hand so people can see you. We pray for them, blessing on their union coming up. They're a great contributor to the coalition. We now have a 12-member board that makes all this happen, and we're going to take about a week off, and then we'll be starting again for next year. So with all of that, I thank each and every one of you, my heartfelt thanks for being here today. Bill.
For 21 years,
we have gathered to pay honor to those who died on September 11th, 2001. Father John Mano was one of those who gathered with us. And in the immortal words of Father John Mano, as spoken on the bulletin over there, as he raised his fist, he said, "Let's ride!" Now, everybody together, let's say it again, people. Let's ride! Come on, you can do better than that, can't you? Let's ride!
Mike's? Oh, yeah. 3 o'clock, we pull out. Thank you.
Thank you. Get up that song.